Hello folks, here with Wild Charles. It's amazing. I follow this guy all the time. I love him. He's got great videos. Check his channels out. He's big on Facebook, but you have Instagram as well, and YouTube and everything.
All that stuff, guys.
And you've been everywhere, right? How many?
Almost, man. Almost.
Yeah, you're always going around. It's amazing to follow his travels. A really interesting show. We're here today because we want to feed some of the tortoises. You see what's happening right here?
Look at this.
We have Adolf. He knows what's up. He smells the greens. He knows it's feed time. So we're going to let you get him started here, okay?
All right, man. All right. Uh-oh. Oh. And he'll chase you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make him walk that far, but look at this guy. I want you guys to see just how he moves, how he gets up and goes. You going to tear it off?
Yeah, and then just if you hold it up a little bit for him, and then he'll stop, and then hold it up. He'll go up. He's going to go up on 3 legs. And just come down a little bit, yeah.
And you were telling me last time I came out, one of the cool things about the Galops versus the Aldabras is they kind of have that little indentation on their shells, so they can reach up higher like this.
Well, it's not just not Galops. It's certain types of Galops. So different species of Galops have different shell patterns, shell configurations, and that's what actually Darwin developed his theory on selective species, was because certain tortoises that had to reach high for food.
You're dropping your foot, man.
Yeah, he's after the big stuff there. Certain tortoises on islands that had the only low-lying shrubbery, those tortoises ate from the ground. Here, you want something? Here. And other tortoises like this here, this is a Galapagos, this is a Vincina, Geoshalone Vincina, and these tortoises had to reach their heads up higher to get to food that was hanging down from trees. So over time, that evolution took place where this part of the shell has like a little bit of a saddle. And that's one of the characteristics of this particular species of tortoise.
It allows them to get just that little bit of extra,
a little bit higher. Right, exactly.
Higher food.
Yeah.
And so Adolf is pretty old.
Yeah, Adolf is 105 years old, actually.
Like, I don't want... oh, dinosaur!
Yeah.
Whoa.
So tortoises have a great sense of smell. You see, he was smelling that food before we even showed it to him. So tortoises have a great sense of smell. They have great vision. They can see great color. They have a lot of rods in their eyes, so we know that they see a lot of different colors. Obviously, they like different color foods. They like greens. Some of their favorites are some of the bright reds and bright yellows and stuff like that. And they actually have a Jacob's organ, like a snake, in the roof of their mouth, where they can actually, when they breathe, taste a little bit of what their surroundings are. So they have a sort of Jacob's organ. And sometimes if you watch what they're doing, you'll see them breathing in heavy and smelling the air. That's them smelling the air because they're trying to pick up trace elements of maybe what's around.
And I generally don't think of lettuce as having a strong smell or anything, but
no.
for them, they pick that up.
Yeah, he recognizes, he knows what's up. He knows you. He knows Wild Charles. So he comes. He knows it's a tour. He knows it's you. He knows it's going to be a tour. He's out here to see the fun with everybody else. It's interesting. They're dinosaurs, right? They're 200 million years. This tortoise has been around. This design for tortoises, what we call a modern tortoise today, 200 million years. These tortoises have this design. Now, what do we consider a tortoise? A tortoise-shelled animal that's able to pull his head inside his shell. He has a beak. He does not have teeth, and he does not have a long tail. So everything can come inside his shell. Yeah. What he has to do, he has to let a little bit of air out of his lungs to pull his head back. So sometimes that's why you hear them hiss, because they can't get their head all the way back in there unless they're let some air out of their lungs. But 200 million years, they go back. This really makes them a dinosaur. And the thing that I always say, which is incredible, is 66 million years ago was the mass extinction that wiped out 75% of the animals.
Yeah, and these guys survived it.
These guys are survivors of the mass extinction. So it's a totally defensive animal. They don't want to bite you. They're not a predator. Their whole thing is defense and get inside their shell as fast as they can. And quite honestly, it's worked out really well.
And
These
it's worked
tortoises
for millions of years.
Millions of years. And because of their metabolism, they're reptiles, they have a slow nature, these animals don't have to eat. They can live for a year without food or water. Just like a bear hibernates, a tortoise can better control his metabolism because he's a reptile, and they can extend that period for a year.
And that's one of the reasons why these guys almost went extinct, because the sailors
Exactly.
caught them and said, hey, we
Exactly.
don't have refrigerators yet. We can throw this on the boat.
Right.
We don't have to feed it.
Right.
And we can have food for the journey.
Fresh food.
Yeah.
So they actually built those ships with that ballast in mind. They had little compartments that they lined them in. They carried them off the islands by the hundreds. They actually thought they were extinct, and they didn't realize they stopped hunting them. They were actually up living inside the craters on the islands. And that was what they had missed. And
that's
otherwise,
how they survived.
That's
otherwise,
how, yeah.
We would have totally
Right.
wiped these guys out.
They didn't think that the tortoises could get in because it was very rough terrain. It was rocky, it was rough. It's a volcano with missing a top. So they lived inside that volcano. And the sailors, when they went there, said, that's it, they're done, there's no more here. They just didn't think that they could transverse. They didn't think they could get to that spot in the island. So
if
that
they
was
had been hanging out here and seeing yours climbing fences, they would know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're very adept at getting around.
I've seen pictures you posted where these guys are climbing right over that fence right there.
Yeah, they'll climb. They'll climb over it.
This is Tank jumping over the fence.
They'll climb through it. I've seen them lift 4x4s cemented in the ground. I've seen them lift those 4x4s out of the ground. It's quite amazing what they can accomplish. You know, they always surprise you. You know, they're always more capable than you think they are. They're always smarter than you think that they are. So they always surprise you. We were talking about the evolution of the tortoise. So if you go back a little further than 200 million years ago and you look at the evolution, you see tortoise-like animals. Animals that have a top shell but don't have a bottom shell. Animals that look like a tortoise but they don't have a beak, they have teeth. Tortoises that look like a tortoise but they got a long tail with a club on the end. So that's what you see when you're going back 220, 230 million years ago. But you got to think about, there's an interesting question. Where did these animals come from? What did they evolve from? And the interesting fact is these animals, lizards, were ground-burrowing lizards. And they would dig these little tunnels and they would hide in the tunnels. Well, they got pretty adapted. It was a good way for them to hide. And what happened is the evolution of time is those animals started getting heavier back legs. And what they did was they flattened out, their ribs flattened out, and then the ribs started growing together. And that's what actually made the shell. It was the ribs that made the shell. And then you had this keratin top over... You have this keratin top over the ribs. And then they became, that shell just got bigger and bigger, and they got heavier and heavier, and they got slower and slower. But it worked quite well for them. And that's the gait. If you see their gait, when they walk, they have a twist, they have a way that they move their feet. And that's actually left over from when it was a lizard. The way that they move. If you look at a Komodo dragon,
if you watch them,
if you watch a Komodo dragon, they no longer can wiggle their body because their spine is fused to their shell. So of course, there goes the popular myth that tortoises can come out of their shell. Can't come out of their shell because their bones are actually fused to their shell.
Wow, so cool, man.
Yeah, so such a neat animal. Hello, folks. Here with Wild Charles. Just checking out Adolf. And we're sitting here. We just gave him a shower. And, he's sitting here. Check him out. He's looking at us as much as we're looking at him. It's not about food any longer. It's not about his shower any longer. He's sitting here and he's checking us out. He's probably thinking the same thing we're thinking. You know, what's happening? What are you guys doing? What do you guys, what's your next thing? What's your next thing, Charles? You got something to say to Adolf? Maybe where you're going down?
Oh, no, man, dude, I'm going up north. I'm going to go hang out with your relative.
But look, you can see he's just checking us out. Looking around. It's a beautiful day.
And they got a long time to think about things. I mean, maybe like tortoises probably have real deep thoughts, guys.
Yeah.
Real deep thoughts.
Yeah.
We could get inside a tortoise's head.
Yeah.
I mean, they got hundreds of years to just refine that thought. And,
Well, the interesting thing is, they say one thing they know about the tortoises is they have a tremendous memory. So it's kind of interesting. In some respects, they're a little bit like an elephant. An elephant obviously has a huge memory, and elephants have a tremendous sense of sound. Just like tortoises.
Elephants can hear subsonic vibrations or sound 20 miles away.
Sense of a different type of sound. It's a subsonic sound because they have this symbiotic membrane on the side of their head, and they can't hear for beings. Honestly, you could come out here with an air horn, and they don't react to it. But you can come out here with a little stick, or I can stomp my feet like this here, and they'll pick their heads up and they'll look at me because they can feel the vibration in the ground. And that's the same way that the elephants will speak to each other in Africa. Something crazy. I think it's 20 miles away. They can hear each other. So same thing with tortoises. Because of their mass, because of their contact with the ground, they have a tremendous subsonic hearing. Well, it's kind of interesting. You know, they have a good set of senses. They have a great sense of smell. They have a great sense of color. They have a great sense of smell. They have that Jacob's organ in the front of on the roof of their mouth that they can actually taste the air. So, you know, all of that plays a part to, you know, some of the characteristics of what these tortoises can do. They have a bulldozer mentality. They're very strong. They'll break through something. They'll want to crash through something or run over something around it. But look at him checking us out. He's still checking us out.
Still seeing what's going on.
What's happening?
Dude,
what you doing?
Did you want to have that up there?
No.
Oh, is that bigger there?
Yeah, it just sounds big because it gets too much of my
Okay, cool.
my wacky
It
voice.
picks up from there, though. Okay.
Well, we've tested. I certainly hope it is.
All right. Well, on windy day, it matters more than not.
Yeah, we talked about that. Okay, so we're going to give him a little shower today, huh? Boy, he likes to shower a lot. Yeah, he's waiting for this.
Sam's giving him a shower here.
We got to get his face all cleaned up, you know. Look, he's got his mouth is all dirty. I like to get this mucus out of his eyes here.
You know, cleaned up. So he's a little bit of a messy eater.
Yeah,
now it's time to go ahead and
he just kind of puts his snoot in there, you know.
Now it's time to go ahead and get cleaned up after. And they love that because it's a sensation, just like we like to shower.
Yeah.
They like the feeling of that water on there.
Yeah.
You can even feel it on the back of their shell too.
Yeah, it's actually you know, this what we call finching is when they stand like this. What this is it's an adaptive reflex, a symbiotic relationship that they have with the finch, where the finch will pick all of the parasites out of their skin, and over millions of years, the tortoises have adapted to that stimulation and stand up like this so that birds can actually pick those parasites out of their skin. So they actually will get frozen like this. The longer we keep doing this to him, we can walk away and he's just in another world. He's just like that. Yeah, he's like a half comatose, you know. Now, the interesting thing here is this pose, you know, answers the question that so many people have when they ask the question of, how does it bird? Well, now you see why they're able to catch birds. What they do is they wait for an area where the bird eats food, and the birds will climb around and get underneath it. And then they'll just pull their legs out from underneath it. And they'll just smash them. And then they get the drop on them and smash them, and then they'll just eat them. So that's one of the ways these giant tortoises actually catch birds. And there's been some documentation of that. Actually, he's caught 3 birds here since he's been here.
Wow, you actually seen him do that?
Yeah, I've seen him once do it, and the 2 other times he's got the bird in his mouth. And I'm trying to pull the bird out of his mouth. I don't want him to eat a bird, you know?
Yeah. So once in a while, these guys will take a snack. It would be a bird, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You're careful. I like if you like
you want me to hold
for it, and I can have a hose and kind of get me.
Oh, of course.
How much does he weigh?
He's 565 pounds.
565 pounds.
Yep.
He is a Galapagos tortoise.
Come on, you want to eat your food here?
A pretty close relationship with him.
Oh, yeah, very close, really. I think when I look in his eyes, I can tell what he's thinking. I think he understands me, too.
What does he think about?
Well, you know, he thinks a lot about food. I got to be honest. But you know, between us, I swear, you know, I've had him for about 35 years.
35 years.
35 years ago. That's when I was young. Look at me now.
Yeah, So I've had him for 35 years, and I think we really know each other. And I'm not going to let you eat my fingers today, so I'm going to let you go down there again. I'll tell you what, let's give him a little shower maybe, huh?
All right.